Hello friends, how you doing? It is time for episode 29 of Sassafras Cast. I was not sure what to do this episode about. Sometimes I have inspiration at the last minute, and this time the inspiration was overwhelm. We're going to talk about overwhelm because I've been experiencing plenty of it. I feel like other people experience plenty of it too. So I was like, let's go with what we know. Let's get the episode started, shall we?
There's magic coming. Oh, there's magic coming. Oh, there's magic coming. Where you gonna be tonight? Oh, there's magic coming. There's magic coming. There's magic coming. Get ready for the rest of your life.
Hello. Almost forgot my tarot cards. I got them. All right, loves, how we feeling today? Welcome to episode 29 of Sassafras Cast, Magical and Mundane Tools for Overwhelm. This is a podcast full of witchy insights to help you lead your sassiest life. I am Rorie Kelly, a tarot reader, singer-songwriter, and all-around personal growth nerd from Long Island, New York. In just a moment, we will begin the witchy weather report. But first, a shout out to my patrons. If you didn't know, you can support this podcast at patreon.com/Sassafras Tarot for $1 a month or more. I record these episodes live, and my patrons get a private YouTube link before each one so that they can tune in to the live recording, hang out in the chat, ask questions, and get them answered in real time. As my patrons know, when I say before each one, that usually means exactly when it's supposed to start. I'm like, here we go, here's the link, everybody. But I do let people know ahead of time what time it will be so they can be aware of that. They also get access to my Discord server where we talk about all things witchy and wonderful, and a shout out in every episode. Here we go. Thank you, Amanda Little, Melissa Marie, Rachel Miller, Grayson, Millie Orozco, Ruby, Rebecca Jones, Brittany Campbell, Ginger Dawn Studios, and Kevin P. Murphy. I'm so grateful that you're in my world. We're going to start in just a moment with the witchy weather report. I will be reading today from the Crystal Visions Tarot. You made it, Brittany. You are the source of this tarot deck in my life. How are you? Welcome. First, I'm going to take a sip of water. We're doing a hydration checkpoint, everybody. Let's do a whole vibe checkpoint. Let's take a moment. If you have some water or any beverage for you to sip on, take a sip. If not, just take a deep breath and check in with yourself. How are you feeling? Let's give ourselves the benefit of the real answer, a thoughtful answer, not the polite answer. Let's go. I try to do these hydration checkpoints throughout the podcast because speaking tends to be a dry-y, outy thing. It's a real industry term, a dry-y, outy thing for my voice. So I try to hydrate as I go. Happy birthday to me, making this live recording on your birthday. Everybody, it's Brittany Campbell Appreciation Day. Please send appreciation and love and good vibes and wonderful vibes whenever you're listening to this to Brittany Campbell. Happy friggin' birthday, babe. I love you. I'm so glad you're in my life. All right. The topic of the day is overwhelm, but first we're going to do the witchy weather report. We are reading with the Crystal Visions Tarot, a beautiful deck by Jennifer Galasso. And I'm going to pull this out. Usually what I do during the witchy weather report is reflect on the synchronicity of the moment a little bit, and then pull a card for everybody. And my intention when I pull this card is that whenever and wherever it find you, whether you're listening to this live or whether you're listening to this, later when it comes out for everybody else, or whether you're listening to it 6 years later because you discovered my podcast and went down a rabbit hole. If so, welcome. Thank you. That this card have meaning for you in the moment that you find it. That's my intention when I pull this card. First, I do want to talk a little bit about the synchronicity of the moment. I've been doing a lot of reading at parties and events lately, kind of accidentally. The universe has kind of put me in that situation, and I'm grateful for it because it always gives me this kind of really interesting bird's eye view of what's going on with everybody. So let me tell you, in this moment, as I record this in mid-February of 2023, a lot of people are experiencing New beginnings as well as endings. It's a messy time, right? There's a crossover. We're still reflecting on the ending while trying to make our new beginning. And trying to make our new beginning when we still have some work to do, reflecting on the ending. Some level of that I think is just natural. It's human nature. We also have our lives attempting to teach us lessons in more than one area of our life. So what does that mean is like the same crap you need to understand about your money problems is the exact same crap you need to understand about your relationship problems. The lessons we are learning are actually have multiple applications throughout our lives. It's not just like, oh, if I could just figure this out, I could get my work life together. It's like, oh, if we just figure this out, we could get our work life together, our friendships and relationships would improve, our family life would improve, and our health would feel better. Like, we are learning the same lesson, and it has roots in many different areas of our lives right now. That's for everybody. Okay, let's pull a card of the day. This card, as I mentioned, when I pull this card, my intention is that it have meaning for you whenever and wherever it finds you. Let's take a look. Love those good shuffly noises. We're doing one more. I realize on the video y'all can't see my lovely little card shuffling ritual because the video isn't like long enough and doesn't capture me like laying the cards out on my desk. Sorry. If you didn't know, you can watch this as a video. It's at youtube.com/@SassafrasTarot. You can, listen wherever podcasts are, but you can also watch it as a video anytime you desire. All right, here we go. Here's our card. It's the Five of Pentacles. Okay, let's talk about the Five of Pentacles. Now is the winter of our discontent, my friends. Let's talk about the winter of our discontent. Here we go. This is the Five of Pentacles. We see a figure. Perhaps it's a mother and a child. Perhaps it's a big sister and a little sister. Perhaps it's just a couple of people who are both down on their luck, who found each other and chose to stick together and befriend each other, and do better together than they did apart. We're in a forest. We are under the shelter of a tree. There is snow around us and 5 pentacles. So what's interesting is there's a sense of having resources but being cut off from it. In this particular interpretation of the card, we're in the forest. We've got these 5 pentacles. That's not exactly cutting it for us. Maybe we're not around the shelter that we could buy with those 5 pentacles or the food that we could buy with those 5 pentacles. There's definitely a sense of hunkering down for the storm, finding the best shelter that you can and making do. What I want to share with you is that there is resource available to you, even if it doesn't present itself in a way you like it at this time. So 5 of Pentacles often means accepting help in order to receive the benefits and the resources that we want, the safety, the shelter, the security. Sometimes we have to surrender a little bit to a situation that we wish we had more control of. Ultimately, we can make it through this storm. That's a key word or key phrase, I would say, for the 5 of Pentacles is shelter from the storm. And we can see that there is a sunrise happening here behind these two. We've made it through the night, but it's not the kind of thing where we are in total control of our lives. We have to accept that we're human beings. We need help from other people. We need care from other people. And when we try to just stand so much on our own 2 feet that we're an island and we never interact with anybody and never need anything, we never succeed, because that's part of human nature, to need care and need love. And sometimes the 5 of Pentacles is about being knocked on our butts and making us realize this. So this can be transformative if you choose to surrender to it. You can have the help you need if you choose to surrender and let other people help you. What a concept, everybody. Brittany says, we've been talking about this topic a lot through February. Yes, we absolutely have. And for those of you who are tuned in for the Witchy Weather Report broadcast just a couple weeks ago, our card of the month for February was the 10 of Pentacles. So that's interesting that we have the 10 of Pentacles, and now we've cut that energy in half. We're halfway through the month and we've hit the 5 of Pentacles. And 10 of Pentacles reflects on family and legacy and our chosen family and who we choose to surround ourselves with, like in the most positive, beautiful way in order to create our lives. Where the 5 of Pentacles still focuses on those. It still focuses on the fact that, you know what? Who are the people we turn to when we have when we feel like we have nothing? Who are the people we turn to when we feel bereft? The Five of Pentacles is almost like the shadow side of the Ten of Pentacles. Why do we surround ourselves with chosen family? Because we know we're not always going to be up and good and happy and beautiful and going on the vacation and putting out the song and doing the thing. We know there are times in our lives when we will experience scarcity, when we will experience struggle, when we will experience sickness of the body or the heart. We know that there are times when we will need their support. So I encourage you, if you're at one of those times, to allow your loved ones to support you. That's literally what they're there for. If you can hearken back to a time when you supported somebody who really needed it, and hearken back to how that actually helped your heart, how you actually felt like, wow, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm able to do this. It's meaningful for this relationship, and it's meaningful for me to be able to give this help. Give them the gift of allowing them to help you. Surrender into receiving help, and trust. Like, sometimes we just have to trust. So that's where we're at right now. You're invited to trust. You're invited to trust through the hard stuff. You're invited to trust that this too shall pass, and allow that to be enough. And find that, yes, you can get through this moment to moment. That is our witchy weather report. A little dreary, but that vibes well with our topic of the day. We're going to do another hydration checkpoint, and then we are going to talk about overwhelm. Overwhelm. It's every millennial's favorite topic. So I am a millennial, and I sometimes feel like overwhelm is like the vibe of a generation, at least in this moment in our lives. Oh, Brittany says, this message definitely resonates strongly with me right now. Having grown up hearing the mantra, don't trust anyone but yourself, from my dad, much appreciated. Yeah, I also grew up with that kind of energy, not from my father, but from my mother, of like, you better look out for yourself because you don't know if other people will be there for you. I don't think that's the worst, to be self-reliant, you know what I mean? But I'd like for us to not make it so black and white. I like for us to be able to be like, or we can surround ourselves with people that we really can't trust, and make ourselves one of those people. Overwhelm, woo. Okay, the catchphrase of the moment, which I'm going to just leave this up for a little while, is I just want to be whelmed, please. Desperately seeking whelm. Today we're talking about overwhelm. Throughout my life, I have created the art that I needed to see me through the moment where I was at. And I've found that doing that, making the art that I need to make, it's a magical process that puts me in community with other people who need the same things that I do. We heal together. We don't heal together because we have solutions to each other's problems. We heal together because we have community and we have camaraderie, and we're like, oh, you too? Me too. Okay, maybe all of us together can come together and figure this out. As in the Five of Pentacles, where we find these two figures who have come together, who've chosen to share body heat, like literally the most basic resource, through the storm. This is what happens when we come together and acknowledge, yeah, we have the shared suffering together. We find greater strength than if we chose to suffer alone. Anyway, this podcast episode is a continuation of me making the art I need in the moment. Overwhelm sometimes feels like it is the word of the day for my whole life, perhaps for the whole millennial generation. Learning how to experience ease and surrender, while also not compromising my ideals or my dreams, like that push and pull is one of the most consistent things I've worked with for my entire life. I don't have a one true fix. I don't have the fix for I want and deserve like the life that I really want. You know what I mean? I want and deserve a life that feels meaningful and special. I think we all do. That feels like I'm using my gifts and connecting with the world in a way that is healthy and healing for me. I think we all deserve that. And also, I deserve ease, and also I deserve surrender, and also I can't constantly be outside my comfort zone, even though the self-help gurus tell you like success begins outside your comfort zone. You know what else begins outside your comfort zone? Discomfort. Overwhelm. If you spend every minute of your life uncomfortable and overwhelmed, you're not giving yourself a good life. There has to be a balance there. So let's talk about how to deal with the overwhelm when it comes up. Because yes, it's true. We can't spend our whole life in our comfort zone, because then we lose the opportunity for a bigger life. At the same time, we need to learn these skills of relaxation, of surrendering into the moment, of allowing ourselves to be helped. I don't know if there's a one true fix. at all. I don't know if it exists. But I do know that when you want to learn about something, that the right teacher isn't someone who has been good at that thing for their whole life. The right teacher is actually somebody else who has struggled with the topic. I remember when I used to tutor math when I was in like middle school and high school, just around my neighborhood, I would have people ask me, like other parents of, children, be like, Rorie, you're really good at math. Will you tutor my kid? Will you tutor my son or my daughter? Because you're great at math and they're struggling. And I found that it was actually a struggle because the things I intuitively understood, they didn't. So it was an interesting exercise for me to try to put in my brain, like, well, don't you, like, I just kind of know that the numbers do this, into having to explain to someone who didn't just kind of get it. You know what I mean? That took me outside myself and taught me a little bit about how to teach people. But if you've struggled with a topic, then you can hit the pain points right away. If I had struggled with math and been like, yes, this was really hard for me too, until this trick helped me remember it, this mnemonic device, or this formula, or this way of thinking about it, then things become easy because we're able to address, like, yeah, it was hard for me too. We're at the table together. I've been in your shoes before, and I'm going to tell you how you move forward, right? That is the most valuable teacher, is someone who's been there and done that and struggled and can be like, guess what? I've come out the other side, and so can you. Well, anyway, I'm here to tell you I've been there and struggled with overwhelm. I often struggle with it right now. And this is how we learn. We learn in community. We learn from our struggle, and then we learn from our ease, and then we come back around again, and both things teach us. So I'm going to treat this episode as a toolbox episode with a list of 4 basic ideas and practices you can choose from. I'm going to give you mundane ways to practice these ideas, as well as ways to make them magical. And then during Which You Got This, our section where I give you one practical thing to take away, I'm going to get very specific with instructions for taking a listening walk, which is one of my all-time favorite magical practices. A listening walk can simultaneously kind of ground you and also help you get the perspective that you need. It kind of hits all 4 of these different things I'm about to talk about all in one, in my personal opinion. By the way, speaking of listening walks, if you're someone for whom walks is not really an option, if you're not that mobile, if you're not able to leave your house for any reason, I want to let you know that a virtual walk can have the same kind of effects, whether it's like taking a physical ride, if that's something you have access to, or taking a virtual walk through your mind, or through like a virtual walk that's offered like on YouTube or something like that. I'm going to share a link to something like that in the show notes. That can also have the benefits, and it's really about perspective and allowing yourself the mental state of going on a journey. So I'm going to share with you ways to do that too. We try not to be ableist on this podcast to the best of our ability. So anyway, if you're a $5 and up patron, your bonus episode is going to be a virtual audio walk that you can use as a visualized meditation for times when you cannot take a walk physically, but still could use a little bit of that reset energy, and you can return to it as often as you like. And whether you're a patron or not, if you look in the show notes, I'm including a really special walk through the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, like a virtual video tour. I'm going to share a link to that video in the show notes so that you can kind of take a virtual walk wherever you're at. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to do another hydration checkpoint, and I'm going to present this list of mundane and magical tools to deal with overwhelm. We'll talk about the mundane and how it's important psychologically, as well as suggestions for making these mundane things more magical and spiritual, should we choose that side of the adventure. Hydration checkpoint. I'm going to ask you, take a moment, take a sip if you've got something to hydrate yourself with. It's the spiritual drinking game where we just hydrate ourselves. I mean, hell, if you're drinking something like a little more spicy than water, I'm here for that. Take a sip of your spicy water. And check in with yourself. See where you're at right now. All right, the first thing in our toolbox is embodiment. I'm going to say these are sections in our toolbox because they offer us multiple paths. Oh, I love it. Brittany says these hydration checkpoints have made me finish all my water. Now I need to get more. I love it. You could take a little mindful walk while you get your more water. I'm very, very glad I have encouraged you to finish your water. That's like often a small goal for me at the beginning of the day, is like I'll have a certain amount of water, usually left over from the night. Like I'm the type of person who keeps a glass of water by my bed, and I'm like, I'm going to finish this water by the end of blah, da, 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 so that I can begin to rehydrate. All right, let's talk about the first section of our toolbox. It is embodiment. If your overwhelm of the moment is cerebral in nature, meaning if you have a problem you're mulling over, if you have a situation that is stressing out, if you have like a too many things moment, you know, too much to process, then a good solution is anything that can get you into simply experiencing your body. So here are a couple of ways to do this that have helped me. You don't have to do all of them. Some of them will work for you, some of them won't. So pick something that works. Patterned breathing exercises. I don't usually do square breathing anymore, which is in for a count, hold for the same count, out for the same count, hold for the same count. The reason I don't do square breathing anymore is because there is pretty real research that if your exhalations are longer than your inhalations, that your parasympathetic nervous system begins to get activated, and it is like a natural relaxation thing that can happen. So I make my exhalations a little longer. So my pattern breathing exercise where I start is breathing in for a count of 4 through the nose, holding for 2, breathing out for a count of 6 through the mouth, and holding for 2, and repeating that as often as I need. And sometimes I lengthen it as well. TLDR, if you're an asthma sufferer, by the way, which I am, I'm a new asthma sufferer. I'm new to asthma. Thank you, COVID. If you're an asthma sufferer, I will tell you this exercise, doing it every single morning, has gotten me better asthma control. It has literally made me use my inhaler less. Like just doing this, breathing in through the nose is helpful. Nose breathing in general is helpful for asthma. And lengthening this count where it's like we start with 4 2 6 4, and then maybe we go to 5 3 8 3, where everything gets like an extra count or two. Allowing us to do that it's helped me with my breathing. It's helped me also get a little less anxious about when I don't have as much breath, because I am practicing what it feels like to hold my breath and knowing that it's okay, that I'm getting through it. So it's helped me twofold as an asthma sufferer. All right, other options for getting into your body can be doing a body scan meditation. Especially, I find this especially meaningful after doing something physical, like taking a walk or dancing a little bit or doing a physical yoga practice. I've always felt like Savasana at the end of the yoga practice, where you kind of like lie down and just feel your body, has always been incredibly it's an incredible experience, and especially because I've just challenged my body a little bit. So it's interesting to kind of feel like the after picture of my body. You know what I mean? Body scan meditation may make you fall asleep. It has made me fall asleep. If you fall asleep during meditation, you might just need to sleep. So I don't think it's the worst thing. Other options for embodiment: dancing your butt off, or singing along to a song, like singing along like you mean it. You know what I mean? Like singing along like, like a 6th grade girl at, the talent show, like with like big gestures and big moves, like you're pounding your chest, like you're Celine Dion. Like, don't hurt yourself though. But you know what I mean? Like sing along to the song and mean it. Really feel your way through it. Allow yourself to embody the energy. Taking a hot bath or a hot shower, or warm if hot's not good for you. I know some people do like cold. Some people do like hold ice in your hands, get in the shower take a cold shower. And I'm just like, that feels like a punishment to me, especially when I'm overwhelmed. But hey, if that works for you, you do you. I love warm. I love a nice hot bath, a nice hot shower. Recently, a miniature version of this that both I and Brittany have discovered is having a steam inhaler. So a steam inhaler is something you can buy on Amazon for like $40, or from your drugstore for like a little more, which is probably better than supporting Amazon, to be real with you. But I recognize that sometimes our options are our options. So I'm not here to judge anyone with how they engage with late stage capitalism. A steam inhaler does exactly what you think it does. It creates steam, and you can put your face up to it and breathe in the steam through your nose and your mouth. This gives you both a breath meditation if you choose to step into it, as well as that experience of the hot steam. I find that just experiencing something that is a little bit physically overwhelming, like, oh wow, this is hot steam, Like, it's not going to burn me. I'm not going to die, but it's like, wow, this makes me pay attention. That gets me into my body and out of my head a little bit. And a steam inhaler is a great way to do this. Great for colds, great for vocal cords, overall great. I'll put a link to the one I use in the show notes. And I can't talk about steam inhalers without shouting out my dear friend Nico Patton, who physically bought me a steam inhaler after I, for 2 years, said, yeah, I really have to get one of those, and didn't do it. And she was like, oh, you didn't? I'm buying you one right now. And she did, and it's changed my life. Thank you, Nico Patton. NicoPattonMusic.com. Give yourself that gift because she makes beautiful music. Anyway, I'll put that in the show notes too. Speaking of things that just force you to pay a little bit of attention, drinking a really good cup of tea or taking the time to make and then eat a food or a snack that you absolutely love, something that's your favorite that you kind of save for special occasions. Maybe it takes a little time to make it. Take the time to make it. Don't put on music, don't put on a podcast, just focus on making the food and then eating the food with your full focus, just honing in on every sensation. That can be a very embodied experience, and literally you can make it nourishing. Now, let's talk about, oh, I love this. Brittany says, I've been enjoying the 6262 pattern. I like that. Yeah, pick numbers that work for you too, by the way. Like, a fun way to make that magical, I think, with breath work is, if you're into numerology at all, I'm deeply into numerology. If you're into numerology, think about the numbers that either have magical properties that work for you, or if you're like a weird person like me and, just like think about the numbers that feel friendly to you. I definitely feel like some numbers are more friendly to me than other numbers. My husband laughs at me, like when I'm adding tomatoes to my pasta, for example. We use cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes. He knows that I will add like 6 or 7 tomatoes, but rarely will I add 5. Like, it's got to be a friendly number. So you can breathe in and out with friendly numbers, and or magical numbers. 4 is a number that helps us with the intersection of work and rest and play and relaxation, right? 4 can help us understand that interplay. Kind of a little bit, that is what the 4s in the tarot are about. They're about taking a pause, sometimes a literal rest. My card of the year right now as my guide card is the 4 of Swords, which is a card that basically says, rest, bitch. I'm trying, tarot. I'm trying. So 4s are a great number to focus on if you're working on bringing more rest into your life, allowing yourself to balance work and rest, or play and relaxation. Notice I did not say work and play, because I'm talking about balancing activities that take your energy versus activities that replenish your energy. Allowing yourself to have more on the replenishment side. 6 is also a great number for giving and receiving. If you're working on a practice that's like, I want to be able to receive as much as I give, or vice versa. I want to feel that I have the generosity to give because I've been living in obligation land and I don't tune into my generosity when all I feel is obligation. That's like, they can't coexist. You know what I mean? If you want to work on that energy just in a very, very light, easy way, work with the number 6. The number 7 is full of magic and possibility. It's a great number for when you've been working on a thing and you're waiting for the magic to kick in and the thing to kind of snowball. Like, you've put in all the work so far and you're like, when does this get easy? Well, right around the 7s in tarot is when that starts to shift. When your energy starts to be like, okay, I can just steward this instead of pushing and pushing and pushing, and allow things to snowball from the efforts I've already put in. 7's a great number for that. So maybe look up some numerology. Consider integrating your breath work process with literally like the numerological meanings of certain numbers. What an interesting way to put together a breath meditation. Oh, I love that. Brittany says 4 is literally everywhere in my life, including in my name. Wait, how is it in your name? I'm curious. Please tell me. Oh, and Brittany is I love this. Brittany's examining her own 6262 pattern. Numerology, 6 equals powerful. And 2 equals grace, harmony, togetherness. What a beautiful blend you've accidentally arrived at, Brittany. Like, I love that. Like, yes, I'm both powerful, and also I get to experience grace. I love it. Oh, that's really interesting. Brittany says, steward. Yesterday, stewardship was repeating in my head all day. What an interesting moment. I will say stewardship is my word of the year. And I have been thinking about it. I know, Brittany, you and I have both read the same books by Anne Bishop, where there is literally a position in a royal court of steward who like kind of keeps everything running, allows everything to go smoothly, and deals with different situations as they arise for the court. That's a piece of the inspiration for it. But stewardship is my word of the year, is how can I be a better steward to myself, to my life, to my dreams? Taking myself out of that, like, I have to do it all myself, and allowing myself to just think of myself as a steward has been helpful for me. So that's interesting that that has also been in your vibe all day. I love that. I love synchronicity. Some other ways to make embodiment magical: focus on the idea of raising or drawing energy into your body that helps you. Whether you're doing this by breathing it in or dancing it in or singing it in, like raising energy in that way by dancing or singing, like feeling into this energy source, and releasing stress, releasing the things that are making you feel overwhelmed, allowing them to be breathed out, or physically dancing them out, like using moves that get them out. If you're on, if you're taking a shower or a bath, like allowing the water to take them away from you. Breathe in the good shit, breathe out the bad shit. That is a way to make this like an energetic practice. All right, we're going to take another hydration checkpoint. I like this. I'm just going to take plenty of them now. Check in with yourself, see how you're feeling, my loves. And, your birthday, 2/18/1991 equals 4. I'm so sorry. I just gave people your birthday on the air. I can edit that out if you want me to. I don't think that's quite enough information to steal your identity, but I can bleep that. Yes, 4. I love it. Yeah. Right. That's why we've both discussed that our birth cards were both Death Emperors. If you're interested in birth cards, maybe I'll put something about that in the show notes too. A little bit all over the place with the shiny objects today. Birth cards are really interesting, and you get them by adding together numbers, the numbers of your birth date, to arrive at a final number that is 22 or less, and then correspond it with the major arcana of the tarot card. Anyway, let's talk about our second tool in our toolbox: beauty and sacred spaces. All right. So here's the mundane way to bring this into your life. Although inherently, when we're talking about sacred spaces, it's anything but mundane, right? But we can do this in a mundane way. This is about a change of scenery. A change of scenery can do a whole lot for mental health, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed. If you're feeling stuck, if that is the character of your overwhelm, like I'm stuck and I'm just like I'm on this hamster wheel, or I don't know how to move forward, whatever. Physically changing your scenery can do a lot. Physically going for a walk or traveling to a special place can mean a lot. Like I have a little beach in my area. Like I live right on the water. I'm on Long Island. There's beaches everywhere. I'm very lucky. I have a little cliff beach that I walk to often. I also have a woods near me, but a virtual tour or video footage of someplace really interesting or appealing to you can have a lot of value. So I'm going to put in the show notes a link to a virtual tour. That's so funny, Brittany. I was just talking about identity thieves, and you're over here like, well, my maiden name is also blah blah blah. I'm not gonna say that out loud on the on the chat. I'm not gonna give people your maiden name. Then they could really steal your identity. But I love that. I love how you like have the numerology of like your very existence, and that's something you've been reflecting. Maybe that's a thing, for you. That's like, maybe that's something you're meant to grapple with, is that 4 energy, throughout your life. Anyway, to get back to our beauty and sacred spaces, if you want to have that beautiful change of scenery and you can't physically change your scenery at the moment for any reason, then I'm going to suggest that you go and do that online. There are a lot of virtual tours online of special spaces. So some ideas here. The Brooklyn Botanic Garden, I'm going to be putting that link in the show notes, has a couple of virtual tours, virtual walking tours. The one I'm putting in the show notes is through their waterways. I always find water to be very sacred and healing. Zoos also have virtual tours, or sometimes have like just cameras on certain cute animals that they have. Art exhibits, museums sometimes have virtual tours. So you can do this. You can take yourself away without leaving and have like a somewhat immersive experience these days. I think that's really like a positive use of technology. If you can physically change your scenery, here are some ideas that are like not expensive or super challenging. Go to a beach if there's a beach near you, whether it's a body of water that's like connected to an ocean or just like a local pond or a local river. Go to the woods. Don't get lost, like practice safety in the woods. It's easy to get lost in the woods. Go to a local art exhibit or a local museum. A lot of museums are pay what you wish, so you don't necessarily have to pay to get in. Go to a local hiking trail where you can just appreciate nature, or a local park. Go to a busy city street if you're the kind of person who actually draws energy from like the bustle. You know, if you're into city energy of like, I kind of feel that way. Like the energy of a city is interesting and unique and feeds into each other, and like the chaos kind of brings some interesting growth. You know, go walk down a busy street like that will definitely get you out of your head. Go to a local bar or local coffee shop that has live music or live poetry. And if you think live music and poetry doesn't exist in your area, lovingly, I want to tell you you're super wrong. Independent music, independent art is literally everywhere. No matter how small of a community, there is always independent music. There is always independent art. And I know because I'm a traveling musician. And I go and play music and find music in the places that people are like, wow, I wish there was more music around here. There is. Search your preferred social media platform for live music plus like a name of your area, name of your region, name of your city or town, and you will find events near you that are poetry readings, musical happenings, you know, live music at this restaurant, whatever. You will find them. And when you do that, you make two people's days better. You make your own day better by going and taking in a new experience, and whatever musician or poet or artist that you end up checking out, their day is also made better because they've been given that opportunity to connect with you. And similarly, art and poetry events can be a wonderful way for you to shift your perspective. Like you can go and just listen, you can go and soak it in, you could go with your journal and kind of just let it be an atmosphere. I do that a lot. I'm the person who loves to bring a journal to an open mic. If you search for it, I promise you, you will find something. How can we make this magical? How can we make this change of scenery energy magical? We can listen to music or poetry. We can like just go listen to it, and then experience it as a form of divination. We can also experience art or nature as a form of divination. So we can ask a question, formulate a question, and our intention can be allow this to be answered by the next phrase I hear, or the next phrase I read, or the next thing my eyes light on as I look at this area. Consider the input that you've received, like what's the next thing that catches your attention, and ask yourself if it has meaning for you. I do this often on walks. I will do this while I'm driving with the radio. I kind of love this form of like instant divination, like allow the world around me to be the divination. I think that's really interesting. All right. The next tool in our toolbox for dealing with overwhelm, we're at tool number 3 of 4, is words. I'm a word gal. I love words. I'm super wordy. I read Harriet the Spy when I was a kid, and I never grew out of it. So words. The mundane thing that really truly works is to get the thing out of your head and get it into words. You can write it out on paper. You can also speak your way through what is stressing you out, whether someone is listening or not, whether you record it and make it a vlog or an audio, diary or whatever, or whether you just literally speak out loud to yourself or to no one, you know what I mean? I do this often while I'm driving because I'm a musician. I drive a whole lot in my line of work. And if I'm overwhelmed, literally just having, I call it like my audio morning pages. So if you're a follower of the Artist Way, oh, there's another thing I have to put in the show notes. My goodness, we're going to have a lot of things in the show notes this month. If you're a follower of the Artist Way, one of the things Julia Cameron recommends is doing morning pages at the beginning of the day. Literally get it out of your head and onto the page. I will do an audio version of that where I just speak it, get it out of my head and into the air. You know what I mean? Really tuning into the air element and allowing the air to take that energy and recycle into something useful. You know what I mean? Just speak or write your way through everything that is in your head, even if it's repetitive, even if you're bored with it. Get it out of your head, get it onto paper, get it into the air. Allow this to be like an exorcism of sorts. By naming what we're experiencing as well as what we're thinking, what we're mulling over when we're ruminating, we both give these things a way to move through and out of us. We give them a place to go other than ourselves, and our heads and our stress and our shoulders and necks. And we also, usually by doing this, we're naturally examining our words as we speak them or as we write them, and usually we gain some personal insight and perspective. As we hear or reread our own words, we're able to depersonalize a little bit from it, and sometimes we get some insider perspective that we need. Sometimes our feelings shift just through the act of doing this. Sometimes we realize that we may feel stuck in a situation, but when we look at it written down, we realize there are options. I haven't considered those options because I'm just so stuck in the stuckness. You know what I mean? So sometimes just the act of doing this literally solves the problem for us. How can we make it magical? Well, if you're writing your stress, you can burn it. Right? Let's banish that shit. Let's give it to fire. Or let's give it to water by flushing it down the toilet. Like, if there are things that you're like, let me get this out into the ether or into the air, if we're speaking them, ask the air to take it away. You know, give it to the element. Allow it to be exorcised. Allow it to be removed from your sphere of existence. And what I usually ask the elements is I say, take this energy, because anxiety is energy. There's energy involved, right? It takes a tremendous amount of energy to be overwhelmed. It's exhausting. Take this energy, transform it into something useful for somebody else somewhere else. I'm not good at working with this energy right now. Let it be helpful for someone else. Here, take it. Take my energy. Please take it. If, on the contrary, what you're overwhelmed about is something you can't do, something you want to have, something, like something you're trying to create in your life, you can't figure out how to create it, something that you want to move ahead, then consider writing a petition about what you want. Consider placing it, writing out what you want, either as though you already have it or just like luxuriating in the idea of what it would feel like to have it, and placing it under a stone or placing it at the base of a candle or at the base of a plant. And ask the stone or candle or plant to please help you create what you desire, and offer it some energy of your own in return, just like kind of breathe some energy into it, just so that we're hospitable. I think that when we work in partnership with different energies, whether it's a stone or a candle or something more serious like a guide that we work with, it's always, I think, hospitable to just offer a little bit of energy in return. All right, we're on our fourth and final toolbox, then we're going to talk about listening walks, which is one of my favorite things to do. Our fourth and final thing is creativity. So I want to remind us right now, creativity is a tool for overwhelm, and I importantly want to remind you before I even start talking about it, that making art to help you feel better and heal is not the same as making art for an audience. You're not under any obligation to create something good. In fact, I kind of recommend that you don't make art for an audience in general. Perhaps ultimately it will find an audience. Perhaps ultimately your next step will be, how can I serve this art by getting it to a different audience? That's okay. You know what I mean? Like, as you all know, I make art for a living, and so very much like I deliberately put my art in front of an audience. You know what I mean? But as we make the art, in order to make art that really comes from our hearts, and also in order to allow it to do what it's meant to do, which is heal us in the making of it, we're not thinking about our audience. We're not grading ourselves. We are not under any obligation to create something good. We're not under any obligation to create something original, or to create something that we think other people will like, or even to create something that we think we will like. We don't have to like it. We're asked to just, in the same way when we speak something out of us, we're getting it out of ourselves and onto the page. We're asked to create like that. We're asked to just like take out of it and say, here's what it is. When you begin to learn how to draw, if anyone has ever begun to learn how to draw, one of the key primary lessons, one of the core basic things is draw what you see, not what you think you see, right? We all think we know what a tree looks like, and we can all remember like being, 5 or 6 years old and drawing a tree, like a couple of lines for the trunk and then kind of big curly green thing at the top for the leaves, right? And then when we're considering what it's like to really draw, we're realizing we can't draw our idea of the tree. We have to just look and translate what we see, and that's not as easy as drawing our idea of something, but it is truer to form. So that's a skill that the visual artist learns. So I'm asking you, rather than drawing your idea of what you should do, or let's expand this, rather than creating your idea of what you're supposed to create right now, let's just be a translator. Let's just allow ourselves to be a translator for what's in our heart. Let's expect that we don't do it perfectly, and that the act of doing so will both improve us as human beings and will help us heal. Because even if we translate it imperfectly, we're still allowing it to have a new form. We're still allowing our overwhelm to have a different form than in our body hurting us, right? So, like, create something. Put some of your energy into it without consideration of the outcome. Draw a picture of your feelings, get them on paper, or how you'd like to feel. Cut up a t-shirt that you don't like at the moment and turn it into something cool and unique that you actually want to wear. Write some words, put down some poetry, some prose, some fiction, any of the above. You don't have to ever finish it, and it doesn't have to be good, about what you're feeling. Don't pressure yourself to evaluate its artistic merit. That's not what this is about. Write a song, or write new words to an existing song, whether you play an instrument or not. And regardless of whether you think your singing voice is any good, that doesn't mean that music can't heal you. Regardless, just do it anyway. Do it for the sake of doing it. Do it because it's meaningful. If you feel overwhelmed by creativity, but you like the idea of trying something creative, like, do it with training wheels. Do a little bit of Googling, because you can find a simple tutorial for almost anything. You can find a tutorial for, like drawing a face, or you can find a tutorial for like painting with this type of paint. You can find a tutorial for singing. You can find singing exercises. You can find a tutorial for playing your favorite 3-chord song on the ukulele. Like, you can find this on the internet. You can find upcycle tutorials that are easy and do not require you to know how to sew things. Like, look on Pinterest, look on social media, look on like YouTube shorts and like Facebook Reels and TikToks. Like, you will probably find something. Just give it a try and see how you feel after, and like, throw out the result. This is not about resulting with something beautiful. This is just about getting your stuck energy out of you and transforming it. How can we make it magical? We can make our creativity into an offering. We can choose to make an offering to a spirit or a deity that we work with, in the way that, like, we might place a glass of fresh water or a vase of fresh flowers on our altar for something or someone that we work with. We can also make it an offering to our higher self, or an offering to our important part of you, for example, your inner child. We may choose to create a crayon drawing as an offering to our inner child, to show our inner child that, yes, you're allowed to play. You don't have to be so serious all the time. We may choose to make an offering to the life we are trying to create. Like, this in itself is ritualistic. Maybe this won't be part of the life, but I am going to draw my vision, or I'm going to write a poem about my vision, or I'm going to write the song that I'm imagining playing on the radio as I friggin' make it, as I have my success montage. You know what I mean? Do something ritualistic with what you've created, or start wearing it somehow, or hang it up on your wall so you see it, or carry it around with you, or burn it if that's transformative for you. Or if you're burning things, please practice basic fire safety. That's something I want to like say, like, burn it in a sink or a bathtub, like, so that nothing's going to catch fire, and make sure that you have water and that you quench the flames right away. You know what I mean? Take good care of yourself. Please don't burn anything down. You can do all of these things, or you can do nothing and just allow the act of creating it to be the ritual itself. That's a beautiful way to raise energy, to move energy. That itself is a ritual. If you say, my intention while creating this is to get my overwhelm out of me and replace it with peace, you know what? 9 times out of 10, creating something is going to do that for you. Okay, we're going to do another hydration checkpoint as we move into Witch, You Got This. Take a sip if you're sipping on something, or just sip in the energy of the moment. Just like check in with yourself. See how you're feeling. Little mini body scan. Do you need to readjust a little bit? Are you sitting in a way that makes you uncomfortable and you're like doing it without conscious awareness? Now's an opportunity. Check in with yourself. This has brought us to Witch, You Got This. This is one practical idea that I leave you with in every podcast that you can implement right now. It's easy. There are ways to do it based on, skill and ability level and how it's worked for me. So let's talk about this. We're going to talk about a listening walk. And again, I'm going to stress that if physically taking a walk is not available to you right now, whether you live somewhere where the weather prohibits that, whether you're physically unable to take a walk, whether you're in a place where you can't really actively change your scenery, you don't have the option to do that. Definitely a virtual walk can be just as restorative. So I want to give you that option of not feeling like, oh, I guess I can't do this. I guess I don't have access to this. No, we absolutely do. We can give ourselves a virtual walk. And like I said, if you're a $5 and up patron, I'm going to include a virtual walk with me as our bonus episode. But also, I'm going to include a link in the show notes to a virtual walk through the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens, which I have been to in person, and I found it to be incredibly transformative. All right, so how to take a listening walk. First of all, if you are physically walking, give yourself proper time to do it. I like to give myself 45 minutes to an hour at a minimum to give myself time not just to walk, but to get ready for the walk, to dress comfortably, to decide where I'm going, like to allow myself to do all of that and not feel rushed. Feeling rushed sucks. That contributes to overwhelm. Let's give ourselves plenty of time to not feel rushed. Dress appropriately for the weather, for the terrain. Wear shoes that are going to support you. Wear clothing that does not feel like restrictive, like you're not going to regret wearing this bra or wearing this waistband or whatever 10 minutes into your walk. You know what I mean? Wear stuff that feels good and also appropriately shelters you from whatever the weather conditions are. Choose a destination or don't. So I often walk with an app called Randonautica. I will put a link to this in the show notes. You can get it in the Play Store. I think you can also get it in the App Store if you are an iPhone user. It's called Randonautica, and what it does is just generates a random spot within a radius around you. The smallest radius you can have is 1 kilometer, or for my fellow Americans, 0.6 of a mile is 1 kilometer. That's what that translation is. And I would say that's just about right for the maximum length for a walk that doesn't take all day, but still feels like it gets you somewhere. Oh, pardon me, I just bumped into my microphone. A walk that allows you to get out of yourself a little bit without dominating your day or being too physically demanding. Randonautica will give me a point and I can just walk to it. It will connect up with Google Maps to give me directions if I need it. So that's really nice because it takes the decision fatigue away. I don't have to figure out where to walk to. I just walk and I just trust in the universe's wisdom. You know what I mean? You can also choose to walk a path you've walked before, a friendly path, to a destination nearby that feels familiar and friendly. You can walk to a place or in a place that feels sacred to you by like driving to a national park or a beach or a local woods. Or if you are the kind of person who draws energy from like city energy, like walk down a busy street, like walk through the neighborhood and experience the energy of different people all living their lives in a close space. You know what I mean? That has its own special energy. Or just start walking and let your feet carry you where they will. If you do this, please bring a phone with you with location services turned on, just in case you get turned around, but like allow yourself to have that freedom. That's some of the beautiful thing about technology, in my opinion, is that it's easier to get ourselves out of little jams than it used to be. We can just turn on our phone. We can call a cab if we really need to, or we can like just turn on Google Maps and figure out where we are. You know what I mean? That's a blessing. And once again, don't feel it's a necessity to physically walk if it's challenging. You could take a ride. You could take a bike ride, you could ride in your own car or someone else's, or you could turn a regular ride that you're already taking, for example, like in a ride share or on public transport, into its own listening experience. And if leaving your home is not practical, definitely take a virtual tour. In fact, even if leaving your home is practical, I recommend taking a virtual tour of a place that you'd love to be and soak in, but can't necessarily get to. That can be really special energy. Before you set out, this is your time to set some intentions. This is a time to make a sincere request for the guidance or energy that you need. If you're feeling overwhelmed, your request for guidance might just be, how can I feel better? How can I come back to myself? You might also ask for help with a specific problem. Your question might be, how can I sort myself out through this money issue? Or what do I do with this relationship? Right? Or I really don't want to keep this job, but I also have to keep this job. Help. You know what I mean? Like, you can ask for help with a specific problem you're facing, or you can just simply ask for whatever insight or advice you need right now. Who are you asking, you may ask? Well, I'm going to say dealer's choice. You might choose to ask your highest self. I think that's always a good go-to. Hey, highest self, you know better. You know, help me out here. You may choose to ask your subconscious. You may choose to ask subconscious, what do I need to understand right now? You may choose to ask the universe or your ancestors or any spirit or guide or deity you work with. I ask different things of different entities on different days. Like, it's all fair game. Do what feels joyful to you. Now we walk, literally or virtually. We walk without mulling. Our job in this walk is not to like figure it out while we walk. No. Allow the scenery to filter into our consciousness. Like, allow your attention to be chaotic. If you're someone who struggles with attention, allow your energy to go wherever it goes. You know, allow yourself to see a squirrel and get distracted, literally. You may choose to engage with the scenery, you know, just by kind of like allowing it to take you on a journey and not thinking real hard about it. You may choose to engage in an imaginary conversation with whomever you are consulting for guidance. If so, I recommend keeping it kind of light and friendly, the kind of conversation you might have with a friend while you were walking around town, you know? It doesn't have to be like a big impactful, like, help me, guide me. It can be like, hey, how are you today? How are things? It can be that kind of light conversation that moves things inside of us in a different way. You may choose to deliberately seek meaning from the different things you notice on your walk. Attention is a powerful thing. What does your attention light on? Instead of instead of looking at chaotic attention and being like, oh God, why can't I focus? Allow your intention to be a teacher. If your attention lights on something and that's the thing you want to focus on, ask yourself why. Ask yourself if it might have a meaning for you. You know, I love walks as divination. I think that's really interesting. Play with the words that come up in your mind that describe what you're seeing or what you're experiencing, and see if there's any interesting patterns or interesting ideas that you might want to interpret. Like, does this apply back to my regular life? You might also choose to deliberately not seek any meaning or verbal guidance as you walk. Just let your mind wander and do its thing, and let your subconscious do its thing, and trust that the act of walking is going to sort you out. You can check in or not when you get back, you know? Do the thing that feels most joyful and easy. And when you do return, give yourself a room. Have time built in so that you have a little bit of processing time if you need it. And think about what you've seen in solitude. Or don't. You're also allowed to just like move into the next thing if walking did it for you. If you're like, yes, the walk helped and now I can do whatever thing I want to do more joyfully, then do that, you know? Walks have been like a really wonderful healing practice for me because they hit the trifecta: physical, emotional, and spiritual healing all at once. Try this at home. Let me know how it goes for you. I love this. Brittany says, me yesterday, literally. Hey guides, we're all on the same side, and that's making sure I become the best me, right? Right. So let's do this. I appreciate your support. I love that. I love your relationship with your guides. I love I'm kind of the same way. When I work with different entities, I'm more casual than I think a lot of people are, which isn't to say I'm not necessarily respectful, but I am the person who's like, yeah, hey, how you doing? Hey, here's a little offering. Enjoy that. I'm going to have some too. You know what I mean? I'm like, yes, let's be friends, you know, like let's give it like friend energy or like 7th grade sleepover energy. That is how I choose to interact with my spirituality. That is what is most beautiful to me. All right, this is going to bring us to the end of our emotional and psycho-spiritual toolbox for dealing with overwhelm. Where can you find me? First of all, thank you for spending time with me today. If you like this podcast, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor and rate it and review it right now, wherever you listen to podcasts, right now while you're listening to it, because that does make a difference. It allows more people to find this podcast, and it also allows them to see if it's the right podcast for them, you know, when you leave a little review about what you like about it. And if you could take a moment to share it with someone that you think might enjoy this or might benefit from it, like that would mean a lot to me. That is how podcasts spread. That's why I love podcasts, because we fly under the radar. You know what I mean? Like, there are big deal name podcasts, and even those big name special podcasts that are doing incredibly well, the average person has never heard of them. You know what I mean? We fly under the radar because it's person to person. We share podcasts because we're interested in them and we like them, and that's how they grow. So if you share this with someone who you think might like it, like that would mean the world to me. If you would like to support this podcast financially and unlock exclusive benefits, you can do so at patreon.com/Sassafras Tarot. That's SassafrasTarot for $1 a month or more. Patrons get access to extra content, personalized tarot pulls, a witchy Discord community, and more. If you have a question, idea, or suggestion, you can email me anytime at sassafrastarot@gmail.com, and you can follow me on social media at Sassafras Tarot on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, all the places basically. If you would like to order a reading, you can do so through my Etsy shop, which is etsy.com/shop/Sassafras Tarot. As always, I'm going to take you out with a song. Today's song is called Shining Tonight. This is a song I wrote during a period of severe overwhelm. It was the first year I really tried to go after my dreams as a musician. And I was learning who I was on stage. I was learning what it felt like to perform. I was dealing with a lot of cognitive dissonance around never being happy with my performances and yet receiving a lot of positive feedback. That was a good problem to have, you know what I mean? But I was dealing with a lot of cognitive dissonance of like, why am I getting this positive feedback when I feel like I'm crappy and not good enough? You know what I mean? I was wrestling with that. Both in terms of music and in terms of relationships, like making friends, you know, with similar interests for really the first time in my life. I made art about it. That's what I do when I have big feelings. And built into this song is that feeling of maybe it's going to be okay. And that is the feeling I submit to you as an offering. This is an offering from my heart to your heart. Sometimes when we're overwhelmed, what we want to hear is everything's going to be okay. But also, if someone says to us everything's going to be okay, there's a large part of us that's like, yeah, right. Okay, everything's just going to be fine. You know, like, it's hard for us to believe. So instead, I want to offer you the feeling of the possibility that it could get easier. The possibility that it could be what you want. I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm just asking you to acknowledge that statistically there is a chance that things could improve. I just want you to be open to the possibility. Call me by my full name again. Call me by my song's name, pretend. You are so excited by me, so I can breathe. This does not at all match your request. I never can pull it off, I am a mess. Special in my own way, what you could just say. The way the moon is shining tonight, illumined possibilities of alright. So how then can I alter this night so I can feel small again? The bubble that prevents perceptions of mere. Just what you're dealing with here, which you may pretend not to hear. It's easier for all concerned. The way the moon is shining tonight, the moon of possibilities is alright. So how then can I alter this night so I can feel small again? Can't you just read me like I can't read you?
this night so I can feel small again. Call me by my full name again. Call me by my song's name, pretend. You are so excited by me, just so I can breathe.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. If you enjoyed that song, please search for me wherever you listen to music. It is the final song on my first ever album, Wish Upon a Bottle Cap. It's called Shining Tonight. You can search for me anywhere you listen to music, Rorie Kelly, RorieKelly. You can also visit my website, roriekelly.com, or find me on your favorite social media site, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, by searching Rorie Kelly. On Instagram, actually, I'm Rorie, Rorie, makes songs. Thank you so much for listening. We are going to talk again soon. I leave you with this sincere burst of energy, this idea that as it is now can get way, way better. Thank you, my friends. Farewell, farewell.